Hey everyone, Aaron here, and this is another Surprise Attack review. And today's Surprise Attack review is a Certain Magical Index, the movie, The Miracle of Endymion. So, uh, what I love about, I think, anime movies in general is that they do two things right and two things wrong, and it's always something that I notice in every anime movie. Like, I've seen many anime movies, and the old days when they did the anime movies, like the OVAs more so than anything else, this trend didn't happen. This wasn't something that existed. The issues that they came with, equally, they were like regular TV shows, but like regular anime TV shows, but which is more of so less episodes. When they started doing this, the anime movies based off of any franchise, any series that they want to kind of throw in one more episode, like Bleach, for example, they do a lot of things wrong and they do a lot of things right. And I hate to say it, A Certain Magical Index, the movie, doesn't kind of break that trend. So here's my review of it, though. So we're back again with Toma and Index, and kind of another random event that happens in the world that they live in, Academy City. And lo and behold, it's whole centered around one girl who seems like she has a really huge following. She sings beautiful music, and everyone seems to love her. Almost to the point that some people think that there's like actual magic behind her words. And ironically, they find out right away. Toma and Index find out that that's not the case. She has actual no magic per se. But regardless, there are people apparently right away after this girl, and it's kind of up to the gang of Magical Index in general. Because I say that you'll have Railgun appearing here. You'll have everyone from Toma's main adventures Accelerator up here. But they also have very small roles in it. It's just more of them. This whole thing's going to focus more so on Toma and Index and Arisa, which is the girl who has the magical voice. And the whole anime movie is going to be surrounded around them more so than anything else. And even in the kind of diabolical plot, who's actually orchestrating it from the background and who's planning to do this and that. So one thing that I'll say right off the bat with this movie is it's gorgeous. It is the nicest thing I've seen in a while in terms of taking a series that Magical Index I think looks really good in general, but seeing it in this form is almost mind blowing. It looks so good. You can see the money because actually one of the producers of this thing was Warner Brothers, so they must have gave them a decent amount of money to do certain things, and you could see it in the volume of the actual show. You could see it in the value of a lot of the animation and just in general how it looks overall. Another thing is that beside the kind of paper thin plot, it's still at least keeping the heart of the Magical Index series. And what I mean by that is a lot of times, like for example, Bleach movies or Naruto movies, they kind of try to take and embody the concepts of their predecessors or what they're based off their source material. And you can see that here. You can actually clearly see that these characters have been really tampered with per se, what their characters do, and I'm glad for that. That's always a good thing when you see, characters who are still keeping pride and prim to what they do in the show and how they react to doing things in the show, and I love that. Um, Especially Toma's, kind of forceful way with women. I'm not gonna say like he throws himself on women. I'm not saying that. I'm saying how he handles women in fights. And if you've seen the TV series, you already know what I mean by that, and you're gonna see it again. And it's kind of funny to see it because you don't actually see that too often in anime. It's something that I always feel kind of rude in concept, and even worse to watch it. But it's kind of funny the way they do in an Index, I think, and the way they treat it. So again, let's go back to what I said earlier on, where I said there's always two issues that go for positives and negatives towards anime movies. One of the positives I already said was the animation. I think the animation, if it's a very popular franchise that becomes a movie, the animation gets a really big hit in terms of looking a lot better. It looks like it has money behind it. Another thing I think also is, again, embodying the spirit of the characters. 9 times out of 10, you'll have characters from, of course, showing up from the actual series. And while they might have small roles, like Accelerator, he's on screen maybe for a good minute and a half in total in this whole show, this whole movie. And even Railgun, I think, only gets about maybe 15-20 minutes of screen time myself. It shows that at least they want to prove that they know the fans, they know what the fans want, and they try to put everything in the show as much as they can in the realm of keeping at least still with the story and how the story is working. But then the two issues. Here's what the biggest two issues are. Canon wise, this takes place, I think, a little bit more after the series events, because I mean, it's not really. I'm not going to spoil anything per se, but a lot of the characters are injured. A lot of the characters are dealing with a lot of stuff they've been dealing with prior to the show. So it has to take place within the second season, probably toward the end of the second season. And the problem with that is that, you know, a lot of these characters kind of get written on and off in this movie just to be kind of thrown into the movie. And I always hate when they do that, because, you know, there's no closure per se with characters. You know, I'll tell you right now, one of the biggest, I think, pet peeves to me is when you have an anime with characters, like especially bad guys, or even just, you know, no-name characters that all of a sudden show up to be huge points of the movie, and then just get thrown away and shied away. And what I mean by that especially is like some of the main characters' enemies in this Toma will face a few enemies. They will show up for literally a split second, then be gone for the movie. And that's a big problem with this movie. It has a lot of elements that just aren't explained well. And I'll tell you right now, the ending leaves much to be desired in terms of what you get from it is almost nothing. You know, there's nothing resolved. No characters are resolved. What you get is essentially a very kind of let's throw this together at the end to make it work. And I hate that. It really just comes off where I was actually surprised. I was expecting something after the credits maybe. I was like, oh, okay, there's still time for, you know, something after the credits. No. It just ends, and that really irritated the crap out of me. But that's one of my biggest issues with. One of the biggest issues I think with any anime movie is that, and also the kind of lackluster use of the other character, the source material. Like I said, equally they throw in everyone that fans want, and that's a good thing. That's a positive. But it's also negative when you kind of throw people in for the hell of it. You have Accelerator showing up for literally one attack. And it's like, what's the point? Why would you even throw him in there? Why even mention him because you want to throw him in there for the hell of it? I mean, it's just odd to me. I don't understand it. I think it's for that kind of fan reaction they want. They want that fan service per se. I don't mean, you know, nudity and, you know, ecchi moments. I don't mean that fan service. I mean fan service in terms of just putting characters on the screen because they know fans love those characters. And it's like, well, that's great and all. I'm cool. I'm happy to see Accelerator come up and, you know, show his mettle and show his cool self again. But at the same time, for how quick he's on screen and how quick he's off screen, it's like, why even bother? It's kind of just annoying. Overall, though, you know, I left this movie at the beginning. I think at the beginning of the movie was pretty good. I think the middle was okay. I think what killed it was the ending. I think the ending of this movie actually destroys the whole movie. And I hate to say that because sometimes I think endings really do ruin the anime in general. But in a movie, I think it's even worse because this feels like a long episode rather than a movie. It feels like a long, exploited episode in terms of how it looks and how it feels. And yeah, it has higher production value, of course, I said that already. But it's still a longer episode in my mind. That's why, if I review this A through F, I have to give it a B- at best. You know, again, this is something that I think fans of the series will love it. I mean, I guess in general, if you're a fan of the target of this movie, you're gonna like it. I mean, if you like Magical Index, this was made for you regardless. Newcomers, I'll tell you right now, if you've never seen Magical Index, don't start here, because it'll bring in characters without explaining anything. And I mean, that's not the point. The movie's meant to be a kind of episode type deal with long, you know, a whole full feature film. It's not meant to kind of go into background stories for characters per se. And it doesn't do that here. You're not going to find a Toma. You're not going to understand some of the references here and there unless you're a fan of the show. But I'm telling you, I know it sounds stupid to say that, but I've seen people, especially when they're very new to anime or they're just talking about anime in general, if they've never understood that watching a movie based off an anime, you know, is not a good idea. They sometimes will still do it. I've seen people go to a store, buy a movie, go talk about it on their blogs or stuff, and go, oh, I bought this movie, but I never seen the series, but I'm gonna watch the movie anyways, and then they talk about how they hated the movie. It's because it's not really per se aimed for you. You have to be into the show to watch the movie and understand it. But that's why I explain it that way, because I do have to explain it to some people that it's like, hey, watch the TV series first, know what you're watching, and then you can understand what you're watching in general with the movie. But I'll tell you again, it's the biggest problem with it is the kind of pacing of the movie in general. It's not bad. You know, everything gets resolved in terms of neat resolution. And I'll tell you right now, I hate overly neat resolution. I think a lot of people do in general, where everything just falls into place too perfectly. And it leaves no room to kind of move around with the story. It leaves no room for characters to ever show up again in the series. despite them having such large roles in the movie. And Bleach does it way too often. I always hate the Bleach movies for that reason. Like, they look so cool and they act so cool, but they have such little value in terms of canon material. But anyways, guys, you know, it's what I said is B- because it deserves. It's still a great thing to look at. This movie looks awesome. If you love Magical Index like I do, because I do love Magical Index, you will still appreciate all the characters. You'll appreciate the kind of screen time they get, and overall, just, you know, enjoy your time. You know, you won't feel like you wasted time watching it. That's what I want to get at. That's why I have to give it a B-. If I felt like it was a waste of time, I would actually, honest to God, say it was a C+ or C. But I felt, as a fan of the show, I still got something out of it. I still enjoyed it. You know, it's got issues with it, but it's almost like a long episode. And that is what works for it and works against it also at the same time. Anyways, guys, so that's it for this review. I hope you guys liked it. As always, comment, subscribe, you know, helps me out a lot, guys. I think I said this the other time, but I'll say it again. You know, I can still keep taking fan requests. I haven't gotten it recently, so I'm kind of freed up on watching. I'm starting series up soon, so if you don't give me a fan request within the next like few reviews, I'm gonna tell you right now I'm gonna probably take a good like month or a half to actually get to the review itself, because I'm gonna have to then focus on that on top of, you know, focusing on the anime I'm watching for reviews and such. Anyways, guys, though, as always, until I pass crossing in the next review, have a great day, guys. You know, be happy. All right, and talk to y'all later. Bye.